everybody, I wanted to do this video since I woke up. We've been going for Scorpio for a while and we've turned into Sagittarius recently, and it's feeling good, it's feeling powerful, it's feeling very freeing. And I wanted to talk about things to do before you die. And this is my bedroom, this is where the magic happens. Welcome to my new house. So let's talk about death. And when I'm saying death, I don't just mean physical death, I mean emotional, mental, spiritual death. I mean life as a sort of interchange between life and death, beginnings and endings, and just the cycles of time. So when I'm saying death, I also mean ascension and spiritual growth. I do not just mean death of ego. I mean when something starts again, something magical, because something else has stopped. So death and life is something that happens all the time. Just as, you know, a tarot reader, you might know, if you're a tarot reader, that the death card and the tower cards, they're not bad cards. It's just something must end in order for something else to begin, and it's just a cycle of life, and it carries on beyond this lifetime into the next lifetime, and the next, and the next, and the next. It's just the nature of life itself. Light and shadow. So anyway, I'd like to talk to you about things to do before you die. And basically this is a little manual on how to die. And maybe, you know, some of you guys may spark up by the memory of the book The Art of Living and Dying and Tibetan Book of the Dead and things like that. Maybe it is linked to this, but maybe it is not. I have no idea. I've never read a book. I'm not a big reader. So let's talk about death. Something about death. I feel that it's inevitable every day. You know, sometimes when we see a certain type of pattern in us cease and we no longer feel the need to do something or not do something, that's a death. When we no longer feel the same feelings about a person that we know in our lives, that's a death. When we no longer identify with a certain type of dress, that's a death. When we don't want to do the same type of job, that's a death. So death is a celebration of the end and the beginning. It is the lesson learned. It is a graduation ceremony for you to go into the next atmosphere of you. And as I've mentioned before, I think it was a full moon reading. We kind of incarnate from one womb into the next, into the next, into the next, as each auric field, each life experience, each program that we create for ourselves for the new beginning is just another womb through which we'll grow. So everything you've got is always temporary. There is nothing permanent, even though some things are seemingly permanent. So you could live in the same house all your life, but there is something that always changes within the house, its walls and its atmosphere, to make it into a completely different dimension for you even. So the same old house, you might experience 4 or 5 different dimensions of it in your lifetime where it will not feel like the same house, and that's something that's really exciting to me about homes. Anyway, so let's speak about things to do before you die. And this is a manual for death and how to achieve it. If you can't get out of a certain cycle, or you can't go into the right type of atmospheric womb, you know, the right type of aura for your life. And of course your aura manifests your grid, it manifests your experience and your inner well-being, it manifests your health, it basically is your energetic field and connects to you, magnetic field, it connects to you all the different things that you need to live on this planet, physical, metaphysical, everything. So how to get into the right womb, the right womb. There is no such thing as a non-right womb. There is no such thing as a life that's not right for you. That's something that people don't like to think about. They feel they are a victim to their circumstance, and they have a feeling that something in their world is always twisted around just to prevent them from feeling. And sometimes I'm sure babies and wombs do feel that way, you know, as they sort of twist it into a ball, and sometimes they feel like they want to stretch out but they can't because the space is constricted. So every reality, every illusion of Maya, every single lifetime, every single experience, even though you may be rich and famous and very proud of your, you know, 7 cars and 2 houses or whatever you got, every experience, even if you're a yogi in the mountains, is not entirely bliss. There'll always be something in you that is like a baby inside a tummy, kicking, wanting to get out. There'll always be some form of you that will not want to be there, and this is what gives us the shadow to keep the light going as well, and to see the contrast between light and dark in this universe. So when I'm talking to you here, I want to just admire you for a second for being here. I'd like to admire you as an audience because, you know, I'm not sure how many views I get from this or any subscribers at all, but I feel you know, you're enabling me to help myself evolve through these videos. I'm just going to say this for a second. Thank you so much for listening, because you're watching me grow from one woman to the next as we speak. And I'm feeling so incredibly amazed that sometimes, you know, life makes itself so much more beautiful when you've got somebody else witness it. When you got another person just to almost like bounce with you and say that, yeah, it's real. What you're doing is real. What you're experiencing, what you're expressing is real to me. It's like, you know, having a soulmate, even though everyone is one being at the same time, is just like so beautiful. Just that you're here listening to me and I'm feeling you listen to me in the future. It just feels so nice. So without further ado, let's touch on some things that I thought of this morning, even though I don't like going back into the past, but there were some good ideas there. So I wanted to say a few things about time. Time, space, continuum. Okay, so time is not linear, and many of us realize that. It's more of a spiral shape, and if you can imagine lots of spirals interchanging, interlocking with each other in different times and in different certain celestial grids, you know, celestial patterns, like as the cogs of the stars turn. Timelines, timeline continuums, they're like spirals that are infinitely finite. Or one ends, another begins, one ends, another begins, and this presents us many windows of opportunity every day, every second of the day. There is something new brewing in us and within us and around us every day. Everything is a choice, everything is breathing, living. There is no such thing as off time from life. If you go to sleep and you're like, oh, I'm zoning out, you're still living, you're still connecting, you're still kind of in a state of semi-choice. You know, you might wake up and might go get a glass of milk. That's a huge choice right there. So basically, choice is inevitable. Switching off timelines, switching off possibilities is something that happens on a I want to say binocular level, on a biological level, and on energetic level, on all sorts of systems in place that we can't see, I can't see. There's lots of different things that happen all the time. The interlocking, interlacing of reality, the conclusions that it reaches, and the infinite potential of growth and possibility is infinite, and that to me is God. So when we speak about God and the spark of us that wants to live and wants to experience life, it's infinite. It just wants to change, wants to feel, wants to breathe. That feeling, even though we might not be alive, we might be in a different time-space continuum after we die for a while, or maybe we not, maybe we somewhere else. That feeling of rapture, that feeling of what's next, I want to do this, I want to do that, that is what keeps us going. And lots of people, lots of passionless people come to me for the sake of knowing where their path is, why their traumas are suspending them from their future, why they can't reach conclusions. So here is a very quick rundown of things you can do in order to commit to an inner death and a greater life every day. So you wake up and you got patterns like, that person has not rung me yet, you know, or especially if you think, oh my gosh, that person's just like my mom, always disappointing me. If you've got anything like that, this is basically where the spiral has ended, but it's not going into the next dimension. So you're going to have an experience on some level of Groundhog's Day phenomena if you are not used to purging trauma straight up. So if somebody's hurt you, you never told them that they've hurt you, you're likely to have unfinished stuff. You're likely to feel feelings like they've done you wrong. You're likely to feel all sorts of things, and this is one of the things that keeps us going in a certain cycle. And sometimes we create band-aid solutions. For example, I feel like a victim, but I'm allowed to do this now to this person because they've done me wrong. And that's not a good feeling, but la la la. And this is how evil builds. Our darkness develops in our lives and our bodies, and how we get disease. Basically, it's like band-aid solutions. For example, something disappointed us. We haven't processed it. We haven't admitted it to ourselves that we generated the experience ourselves because we are all. And then we kind of go, I don't know how. And then we start building blocks of our lives, generating a body that ages, generating a body that's sick, because every time we make a decision, it's always in mind of these special conditions that you create. Like, you can't just be uninhibited and be freaking everywhere as we're born to be on this planet. No. oh my gosh, okay, that person's hurt me, or like that woman at the office, that woman at the office, she's so annoying. And then the band-aid is like, but I'm a good person, I'd never do what she does. And then she'll do something and they'll be like, oh, I told you so, I'm going to tell all my friends about it, I'm going to Facebook about it, and things like that. So like evil seems a very innocent thing, but it builds. And what is evil is just stagnation and one pattern. And the thing about evil, about reptilian consciousness, about any kind of darkness, is it can't create. God energy creates unlimited bounty that has never been, and works things out. Even from this state that we're in, it can work things out within minutes. If we wanted to wake up to God and the energy of this life, we could rebuild everything. We could have a flourishing community freaking tomorrow if we wanted to. We could. There's a possibility of enlightenment being, interestingly, it's not possible, but there is a possibility. It's possible. But what happens with evil and the darkness and limitations in this world is that it's a band-aid over band-aid over band-aid. So basically like something glitched out, and then it's a lie that places itself. And you might be living a lie just as I am living a few small lies. There used to be big lies, now there's smaller lies. Everybody lives in a certain dimension of lie to be here sometimes, and usually it's polarity based, and it's usually somebody hurt us, we can't remember it. So just a quick rundown about trauma with people, because that's what keeps people coming back to these dimensions. That's why the earth is overpopulated. That's why we've got war to purge our emotions. That's why we've got bad conclusions happen. People die horribly and everything like that, because nobody's purging the initial ouch. Because what is the initial ouch? God saying, you can forgive more, this person hurt you. You are actually able to forgive this person. And you go, ouch. Ouch is more important than ouch. Outcome is this. So instead of like, growing, sometimes we go, and then we can't grow more. And part of our souls feels like it's really unimportant to grow sometimes, because that initial frequency of ouch is what we keep behind. And that's why people come back here, resolving karma from past lives, to the point where they're like Stone Age beings, to the point where there was no civilization here yet, and they keep on coming back to this realm for something they forgot. But that something is not them even, it's just a release. So release is the most important thing most people can commit to in this lifetime, perhaps, before they can reach the greater purpose and the greater rapture of their being. So release. If you're not there, if you're thinking, my mom's a bitch, my dad was an abuser, if you're thinking, my boyfriend left me, or like that guy never loved me, and you think, oh, all these people are the same, la la la, anything like that, there needs to be a massive upgrade. So especially with family fractals, because you can only jump as far as your family will allow you to jump. Not to say your family are bad people if you're not jumping very far. I'm just saying, you've been born into a certain type of family for a reason. I've been born into a very messy family this time. And at the same time, not messy at all, but there is a need to start forgiving fast. If you want to accelerate your growth on this planet, forgive fast, and start with yourself and your loved ones. People that have really hurt you, really in there, really, not the politics, not what the world is doing, not the ascension grids for anyone else, inside. Like my mom, me and my mom still don't really get on, and that's something that I feel and think about every freaking day. But this is advice to me, as well as some of you guys who have bad relationships with your mother, to a point where you can't even communicate to each other. Like every second word is annoying, anything like that. And a lot of people are in this boat, and this is very suffering for the female body. It can cause infertility. It can cause lots of different distortions of the body and dimensions where you go a little bit crazy about being a woman in the first place, and you get into very weird situations with women altogether. It's like, okay, so you and your mom don't get on, start giving her presents. If you can't give her presents of you, presents, even though she may not feel it, and she can feel that you giving them out of core need to give, just because she's family, anything, it doesn't matter why. So give. Allow yourself to feel as well. So if there is like a feeling of hatred that has never been able to emit itself, concealing itself as, oh, woe's me, sadness, there's a need to expel those feelings for most people. And that's basically it. That's basically it. Most people have trauma within their close-knit circles. They're born into those grids, they're born into families which have exactly the right types of issues that they have not been able to let go of through lifetime. For example, if you're somebody who's very wealthy in knowledge, come in very knowing, you've got parents who suppress you. They don't want you to be a circus acrobat, even though you've come here to be a circus acrobat. And your body is amazing, you build for speed. You may have lots of different things happening with your family where they are pushing you down all the time, and you remember your childhood and your youth, and say, for example, your mum fed you gluten and dairy all your life, and then you find out in your 30s, I'm actually both gluten and dairy intolerant. I don't have to suffer all my life from what she's been feeding me, and resentment builds. So basically, with everything that you've got, it's not important to look at the past lives really that much until maybe you come to me, and then I can look at your past lives. But usually, basically, what is important, but it's just different, depends on the person. So basically, with your parents, it's really quite nice idea to forgive them as much as you can, and possibly even use dogma, like respect your parents, part of religious or spiritual cultural dogma. Dogma is not pretty sometimes, but respect your parents. Why? And dogma will not say why. They'll just say, like, because God likes you to, but because God inside likes you to. And because sometimes, like, a woman cannot achieve everything she wants to be in her life until she can forgive her mother, and then forgive herself for being like her mother in a past life, or having very big similarity with her mother's grid in order to be incarnated through her. So it's like a really important thing to just forgive and forget, even though it's forced. Just put the first thing out there. Like, say, for me, I went and I bought all these beauty products that I feel my mother and myself would benefit through. And we're both going to use the same products and exchange information in the ether through those products. Things like that. Buy yourself a matching outfit with her. Get her something for her garden. See what she liked as a teenager that she said she liked as a teenager. Give her something. Give something, even though you might think it's not cool at all. Give your mum something. Even if you're poor, give her something. If it's not you, give her a present. Give her, like, maybe advice in a present. If she won't hear you, if she won't listen to you, give her something that will remind her of something, especially if your mum is somebody who will never listen to you. With your dad, especially as well. Many women cannot manifest the right kind of partnership for themselves because they're still caught up in a cycle with a father. They'll either connect to somebody too safe who doesn't give them any love or real freedom, or they'll generate somebody who's not safe enough, who's completely different, who's a bad boy, who'll leave them behind, or they will do exactly what their father did. And that's something that people do a lot on this planet. It's actually really ridiculous. They can't get enough of trauma. They can never get enough of the dark energy, because sometimes without dark they think there is no light, or they are not good, or something like that. But there's a lot of interesting self-punishment mechanisms that come into play on this planet as part of the slave grids, and there's many reasons why there is a slave grid here. But with father, the slave mentality would work, and everything is connected. So if you're a woman especially, but also when you're a man trying to get ahead, and you're behind all the time, behind your peers or behind time, there's a lot of father stuff that can happen, mother stuff that can happen as well. It is really individual to each person, but at the same time I feel you all have something. Like, y'all have something that's not quite consistent, and they could even be mother and father worship when inside there is sadness and an inner child that's not able to grow up. There's lots of balancing and rebalancing that can happen in your life for your family, your direct family, even if you don't remember them, even if you got adopted. There's a lot of issues and things like that can be dealt with without seeing me, without seeing a healer, without seeing a counselor or a doctor. You can find your own feet and your own attitudes and your own perspective on your family, as that always reflects back to you. As in Vedic astrology, there are certain planets that are your dad and certain planets that are your mom. I feel that the dad can come through Pluto, Saturn, maybe even to an extent Neptune. I think that there's different types of father out there, and there's different types of mother as well. As mother is usually the moon for me, I feel, in a chart, but sometimes the moon is something else. It can be actually a very different frequency, like a guardian spirit in somebody's life if mother wasn't there, and say mother comes in as Lilith or as Ceres. There's different types of energies you can look at. But it's really depending, I guess, on psychic ability. When you look at a chart, you can't really pinpoint it down to any kind of direct thing. Like it's always something else for different people. So basically, to narrow it down, respect your mom, respect your dad. And if you can, give them something. If you haven't seen them somewhere, like for a long time, you haven't organized a time to meet them in person, you haven't called, anything like that, have to do it now. Like, now. And this doesn't matter when you're watching this video, now is good. Like, call them up and be like, hey, I'm just saying that I care about you. Hey, I just wanted to tell you, you know the time when you sent me to that school and I didn't like it, and then, you know, in a way I got a degree out of it and I'm doing quite well now and I'm still not talking to you. I just wanted to tell you, thank you for sending me to that school. And every person sends each other to a school of some sort, okay? Energetically, emotionally. Even if you got a boyfriend for only like 10 months, he sends you to a school, you send him to a school. Everybody sends each other off into greater learning and greater growth and death. We all send each other towards death, which is why Libra is partnership, Scorpio is destruction, okay? By the end of communion and trying to balance things between you two, you kind of kill each other, or you kill something within each other and you help each other purge to make a great shoot of life again, as Orpheus comes in between Sagittarius and Scorpio as a great big tunnel in the sky that leads us to the greater being that we've ever been. So through Scorpio to Aquarius, there's a metamorphosis that happens. So this is why I'm posting this video now. Basically, we are learning our greatest potential, our greatest truth, and our greatest ability, and a lot of people are stuck. And that's really sad sometimes, you know, you're stuck and you don't know how to die. And you think you want to die even, maybe. You don't know how to die out of this experience of your reality into the next dimension of your reality. Say you're a 4-dimensional being, but you want to be in a 7th dimension of things that you feel others are doing. And it's something that can only happen not by reaching up to the dimensions, pray to the angels and the fairies. I don't belong here, you know, I'm going to pray to the fairies and forget about this sinful world. We can't get there like that. We've got to go backwards in order to go forward. So like if you've got cords from the past and you want to be up there, you got to clear the cords and not be aggressive about it. And sometimes not even be sensitive about it. It's like you got to look at yourself, man. And I'm talking about man, you know, the great celestial man, not just earth man. Every man, any woman, any man, need to collide, like, cover no more. And what I see in that is like, you know, covering your past, you know, my dad abused me, I'm a little child now, nobody cares about me, you know, and that's a big cover up, even though it might feel good because you never got to experience those feelings as a child. Covering things up no more, that have been part of your mechanism, like nobody likes me, that's alright, I'll stay home all day and nobody will see me and I will not ever experience anything good. That's like the darkness dragging you down and becoming a big part of your experience. So basically, family first. Family. And for a lot of Western people, it's not possible. And even though some people have been coming in for the last 70 or 90 years, that are not from here, they've never been here before, and they come in as a star being, and their family is just a surrogate experience, it's alright, there's still truth there. If there is emotion, if there is no emotion, you never felt an emotion to your dad or your mom, like clear, I just don't feel anything, you know, like a person walks past you, you don't feel anything. In the same sense, then it's not that important, but still give them something, just to let them be given life like you've been given life once through them. It's like paying back the favor. Thanks, mum, for birthing me, even though, say, I'm a star child. It's not for me, it's for other people. I'm a star child. I don't really feel anything towards you guys. I love you guys. I wish you guys all the best. Here is a, you know, big present. And I hope you always love each other. Or like, I hope you guys get the best out of this life, you know, and off you go, do your starseed stuff, or do your extraterrestrial stuff, whatever you guys have come in for. But generally, basically, I'm saying with people and places on this earth, lots of things are in the past that are traveling towards the future. If you can imagine having a heavy freaking bag on your shoulders as a humanity, as a species, and then not being able to give anything away. I'm not giving anything away, but it's hard to walk with a giant bag on your shoulder. No, I'm not giving anything. I need all of these things. And that's why we can't travel very far or travel in light speed yet. We can't feel light speed. We can't work light speed. We can't yet discover things. We have got to read books over and over just to fish out some information somebody else has picked up for us to teach other people what we feel is right or what we might think is right. So basically all of this system, like educational system, written word, everything like that is just not important anymore, you guys, because basically it's time to die. But when I say it's time to die, I mean it's time to be reborn. Anything else to do before you die? Okay, just quickly, anything that's built up from your childhood, for example, you never rebelled, like you went from reality age 8 to reality age 30 without much changes. You still got the same type of clothes, you still sort of got the same type of stuff, and you have never rebelled. You've never felt the youth and the rebellion of the teens, of the, early era that you remember. You never got spiked by adrenaline. You never felt excitement. And you sort of like this, like you are near death all the time. You're not here, not there. You're never having any kind of spikes emotionally, and you wonder why these people get possessed by emotion, why these people have so much laughter or crying. You just kind of like placid, or you don't really know what people are up to. It means part of your soul is not here. And sometimes it means you got to accelerate through weird stuff. Weird stuff like, say, you've never drunk and you've judged people who drink. Have a drink. Come on, loosen up, If you've never had a time in your life where you used to run around listening to metal music, where everybody else was going crazy about the Beatles, you didn't care about anything, you stayed home, and you had your nice dress on and you never really cared. Maybe for some of you not, but for most of you guys, it's time to do something about it. It's time to feel something. Find that music you like. Find that movie that makes you cry. Do something to make yourself feel something. Because what goes down must come up, what goes up must come down, and sometimes people have very placid lives because they're scared of this. But that is life and death, life and death, life and death. That's just inevitable because it has to be experiencing itself in freshness and excitement. There's not many people that are, definitely there are some, designed to have a very placid timeline without any splashes of adrenaline. But if there is a need and a longing in you, something's missing. Usually it's something like that. And sometimes we've got a trauma or a time in our life when we're 6 years old and our daddy never loved us and we never really understood ourselves. Age 6, we can't go on to age 40 because part of us is still dragging behind age 6. So have a look at your life, give yourself those experiences you do to a 6-year-old to a point where you force it. Like say, okay, I've never been 6 years old. Say I got, put into a very weird situation by my family members at age 6. Okay, I need to find an illusion. And sometimes kids that never grow up out of certain phases, looking for escape, not knowing how, looking for Facebook, having a look at some kind of TV drama, looking at commercials, not being able to stop watching TV. And I used to be one of those people as well because I was like 4 when it happened. And like sometimes people can't work past it unless they have a forceful experience of it. So for example, you never had a childhood, it's time to put on that freaking Batman costume, go to a dress-up party, run around with a balloon. It's time. If you are a little ballerina at heart, never got to be a ballerina, age 6, put on a tutu, run around naked around the house. I refuse to put on my undies. Anything like that is good because there needs to be a freak out for there to be balance. Anything to do with not being able to do things and then looking towards them for a long time. For example, I'm one of those people, have been. I've always wanted to sing, but never. And then every day or every 2 days, I've always needed to say something to people, but never, Or I've always wanted to travel the world. I've always wanted to have that kind of hair color, but, and never. But everything is a phase, but sometimes you can see it's a phase before you can experience it, and then it just like pulls you all the time, like, far out, I really want a sports car. No, I'm a Buddhist monk. I'm going to just have a very humble experience, but I really want to feel what it's like to smell the fresh leather and I really want to feel the wind in my hair. No, 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 no. I'm a Buddhist monk. I'm going to shave my hair. I'm going to live in the mountains. But even if you do get to that status of Buddhist monk, you might not be happy there because part of the path which was pulling you for some reason, evolution of spirit, some kind of guides were pulling you towards getting a sports car, wasn't resolved. And then often there's people that get married, there's people that have children, there's people that have commercial jobs, there's people that have all sorts of things in their lives that are good and they feel alright, but something is always hungry. So have a look, for example, like you're living a life and you always used to maybe have a feeling like as a teenager, like I need to be in front of people performing, I want to be seen, and that part wasn't covered, and you were like 45 and you got 2 children and they're going and doing crazy things or they're doing nothing with their life, and it's sore for you to see that. Then you got to go backwards and remember, okay. As a teenager, I was obsessed with public speaking. I wanted to write poetry and speak poetry in front of people. I have to do it now. I have to do it now. And sometimes it'll be one experience. You go and you try it and you see what all the fuss is about. You feel the rush. You get over it. You can move on. And a new fantasy develops, because sometimes we've got a fantasy that becomes a burden and we can't feel it's real or possible. That fantasy, we live backwards. We go, when I was 12, I was so amazing at drawing. I never pursued it. When I was a young woman, I may have been with this other guy. And life is sort of like a film of regret over your life. You're like, la la la, and the pineal gland calcifies very quickly. Oh, I may have been a very good dancer. I may have actually, if my parents were rich, I would have gone to university. My mother suffers from this. My father was never there, and everything is like backwards. And then what your life gives you might be good, might be bad, but you're not really there. And then sometimes, usually these people look forward to dying or some kind of death, or they can't get out of bed, or they got habits that make them unhealthy, because sometimes like, and nothing's real. So when you can, if you're one of those people, could have been, should have been, never happened, I missed out, freaking do it. And that's something that I've done for my mum and myself. I never sung. I learned to sing and I started putting out music. It never really went that far. I got a producer for a while, but it sort of like caved in really quickly because it wasn't really in alignment with my stars. It just wasn't interesting to me energetically, and I had to admit it. The idea of being a pop star just didn't do it. So basically, when you got some kind of unlived dream, even if it's a waste of time, it's better to spend 6 minutes a day realizing that dream, or showing yourself that you can do it, or even like how I've done it, like say spending 2-3 hours at a computer writing music every day, wasting that time for 6 consecutive months, and then being free like a bird with a bigger dream comes, then being somebody who's always constantly pursued by the ghosts of the past, constantly like, but there may have been a chance. Okay, say you're 69 years old, you thought you'd be a movie star by now, or you'd be a retired movie star. You have to start a small thing. Get a video camera, go to the store. I'm serious, get a video camera, start recording yourself. Just doing things like this. Just like this. Start recording yourself doing little poems, reciting little poems. You can put them on Facebook, you can put them on YouTube, you can put them anywhere around the internet. You can even just play them again and again and watch yourself again and again and again. Something that I used to do a little bit. It's like put the camera in front of you, record yourself, or like record yourself dancing, and it's not for humor or self-humiliation, just so that you've done it and you felt it as a possibility. And then if it's in your stars, and if it's still in the cards, and I've seen so many people that could take what they've meant to be by the tail and made it theirs any time of their life. I've seen so many people, seriously, who are age like almost 70, who could still portray the same presence that they did at 20 and still have a chance, an energetic chance to portray something that they want in order to become that person they've always envisioned themselves in their dreams. There is always a chance, and better late than never, and sometimes later is better. Though, for most people, when they think that they want something, they can't have, it becomes a really weird skewing system. For example, if somebody idealizes certain type of rock stars in their youth, and they never say picked up a guitar, they never realized how much they wanted it to be that person on stage, then they're like, this is a very common syndrome. They're a 40-year-old man, they can't grow up. Like, they're still cutting their hair, like, the famous rock stars. They're still wearing the same t-shirts. They're kind of partially still enamored with themselves as a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old kid who loves Metallica. And then sometimes these people have very strange lives where they're living as a teenager in a 40-year-old's body without really needing to go further, because something about that energy is very satisfying. And that satisfaction is curiosity as to how real can I make it for myself, because the dream was never realized in itself. And then they try and find something real in these old stale emotions and feelings that they're trying to constantly renew. And of course that brings body to a standstill. Quite often these guys get a pot belly, they get bad odor, they get all sorts of things because they're constantly messing with an energy field that's just not right anymore. Because the thing about reality, making dreams come true, and death from one dimension to the next, is unrecognizable things can happen. They can. Like something that is completely out of the ordinary. Because as I said before, time travels in spiral, it's not linear. And all the different spirals of potential, they all interlock. And I was talking to this astrologer before, a Vedic astrologer, who works in a very conservative way, calculating things that definitely will happen or definitely won't happen. So calculating through astrology, using mathematics in order to understand it and the potential that life can take. And sometimes we can't quite predict the type of next swirl of reality that can happen, the next structure of ourselves. If we let go as much as we can in each moment, and if we are in love and enlightened in every moment, and if we are physically uninhibited in every moment, and commit to ourselves totally, and release everything that we're holding on to as part of our identity, you could be one of those people that wins $1 million. You can. You can technically be a person that gets discovered just by walking down the street. You don't have to have a linear timeline where I'm born, I'm studying, I'm working in the field, I get big in the field, although for some people that's an important part of their life. But the more we let go, we can die in this lifetime and be born again. It's like we can die in a part of the world that we've created for ourselves out of our sense of identity and the band-aid solutions that we've created for our trauma and our karmic issues. We can kind of suffocate that out by loving it so much with this great big hug of forgiveness and grace, and then we can go into the next spiral of time in a way that can completely be unrecognizable. But that's another story for another time. Because sometimes, I'll tell you what, for everyone it's not true, but there's been definite people that it's true. Say you're born for the movie screen, you're born to be a beautiful woman, say, who lives in a countryside with lots of children. You're born to be a painter, you're born to be a financial tycoon, maybe. Perhaps, maybe not, actually. Maybe you're born to be a symbol of faith for other people. Maybe you're born to be a pastor or something like that. You're born for something. Everybody can reach a huge height, even if you don't think you can. Everyone has unlimited potential, and I'm not just saying this because it's true. I'm feeling it in me now. I'm actually waking up to it. But the thing is, occasionally we've identified so much that what we've created cannot match to the next fractal, and then we miss out. Like, for example, often with women, if a woman feels, like me to an extent, mousy and not really like showy, because she's connected to some kind of energy out of her mum's field, trying to be different than her mum, wanting to rebel against the glamour industries, but then for glamour she could be noticed and, say, maybe promoted to being an anchor on TV instead of a YouTube presenter, or like, say, being somebody who meets the love of their life because they're wearing a certain type of symbol. This is really crazy. Like, a woman can say, this is freaking out there, but a woman can say, feel, I've always wanted to dye my hair black. I don't know why, always wanted to. And she never has. And for some reason, she dyes her hair black and she goes, be what may. And then she goes into a crowd of people, and perhaps her soulmate is blinded by the media or the industries that he's enjoyed looking at, like different rock stars and celebrities like Kim Kardashian, whatever. And he's looking for a brunette unconsciously. And say if she was blonde or redhead, he wouldn't have maybe made the connection. But because she was brunette in the crowd, she'll stand out, and there's like a meeting that generates, there's a power that generates, and an illusion that generates between the two people that brings them together. So it's like really wondrous how things happen and how things work. So if you got like a glitch, like say, I've always wanted to, get this done, or I've always wanted to say ride in a fast car as a teenager but never got the chance. So I've always wanted to spend a lot of time at galleries, but some of me felt it was bourgeois and a little bit too showy. You got to do it. Even if you're 70 years old, and you always wanted to see a horse gallop across the land from a past life, from a future life, doesn't matter how. And you might get a huge activation. Please do it, even if it's really obscure. Like, I love watching horses. And you might see a horse run, and for some reason, psychologically, karmically, also intertwined with all the different timelines of people you've ever known, you might get a memory from an ancestor of watching a horse run through the field that was connected to a giant mansion and a way that people used to live during a certain era. And you might actually be like activated unconsciously, like, that's what you are. You might watch your horse gallop across the field, but for some reason you're like, the mansion in the sky, or something in you clicks. And for some reason you sell your house and you get a small place, a small cottage in the countryside that has a feeling of being a mansion. And then you buy a horse, you rescue like a race horse or something like that, or 2 or 3 or 4. You could start a business, or you could start some kind of a really amazing humanitarian task. There's so many different possibilities. There's so much creation happening all the time that to narrow yourself down into the fractals that you've been born with and that you feel are inevitable is foolish and beautiful as well. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to welcome you to sign up to my channel and like my videos and maybe share them with a friend or two. If you would like a special guided tour of your birth chart, please go ahead. I don't usually actually need the birth charts that much, so it's basically psychic tour. I see visuals, I see you. I help you organize your energy in a way that's more harmonious. If you've got any issues with anything, you got issues with your children, if you don't have issues with your children, if you've got issues with work, if you are supernova freak, like who's grown a lot and they just don't know where to next, like you've mastered your chart. I've had a man like that yesterday, mastered his experience on earth, doesn't know where to next. Even if you are really evolved, I can help you. Even if you still don't really know what star sign you are, or how to use astrology, or what the hell astrology is, I can help you. If you don't want to feel the same way anymore, you don't know how to get out of your circles and your cycles, I can do a little thing and help you. If you want to know a little bit more as to why your family has never had happiness, what's another way of looking at things, what's another way of looking at the world, how can you turn your darkness into your greatest potential, you can help me, I can help you. I love darkness. I don't have enough of it. I love seeing people that want to purge darkness because it actually helps me. It's really interesting how it works, but I really enjoy dark stories. If you've never told anybody about an issue that you've had with a parent, if you've never told anybody about your sexual experiences as a child, anything like that, please contact me because I love you. I love you and I enjoy you guys and I really love my job. Thank you very much for being here. Happy Sagittarian return, I guess. And enjoy this transit.